My name is John Conover, and I'm actually the fundraising chair for APO Eagles, which is the Alpha Phi Omega Alumni Association and NISA affiliate group. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute about how I got here. But I'm a member of Nawakwa, and I'm an Eagle from the class of '86. You see some different patches up here. You'll see those again as we go through, except for this one little one up here on the left. That one's kind of a new piece right now. So I say new, it's 1948, but it's new. So what am I? I'm the guy in the Alpha Phi Omega letters at NOAC and at all these East Coast shows now. I'm the Nawakwa collector, but primarily I'm helping to market our materials. You can see my little brother Earl Ingram there to my left, your right, in front of the table, and that's one of our brothers as well, one of our APO Eagles members as well, with us at the table as we're setting up. And we had a great time at NOAC, and so we're happy to be out on the street. So what happened? We're going to talk about this first. Let's talk about known scouting related fraternities and what we're going to be talking about. First off, Alpha Phi Omega was founded in 1925 at Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania. In 1931, October of 1931, it was formally recognized by the National Council of the Boy Scouts of America. However, the scouting membership to be in Alpha Phi Omega was dropped in 1967 as part of the Constitutional Convention. In 1976, women were allowed as full active brothers, and all members of Alpha Phi Omega are called a brother regardless of gender. Today, Alpha Phi Omega is fully coeducational with over 350 active chapters nationwide. We've got over 500,000 brothers that we've initiated. And so I'm very happy to be a member of APO, and I actually learned about it through the Scout Handbook. It's like the very last page of the Scout Handbook before the requirements. And yes, I was that geek that read that deep. Another Greek letter named organization that was within Alpha Phi Omega was Sigma Chi, which was the Supreme Council of Alpha Phi Omega from 1927 until when we had our second chapter until 1934, when they changed it over to the offices of president as opposed to Supreme Grand Master. Later, Sigma Chi was used as a chapter designation because we made it that far down the Greek alphabet that many times. We are on 3 different letters. So we are on 3 Greek letters at this point now, with over 750 chapters. Other known scouting related fraternities include Theta Delta Alpha. Thanks to Dr. Hupp, I found out very recently, confirmed that exactly what I thought was late 1928 was the founding of Theta Delta Alpha at Northwestern University in Chicago. It's my understanding from someone that they may have had an Eagle Scout who was an advisor. However, after reading the information that Dr. Hupp sent me, there were a whole lot of adult scouters involved in this. And in fact, there was a Zeta chapter started by adult scouters in Des Plaines over off to the side of Chicago, where the airport is now, that was called the Zeta chapter. However, we have no evidence of that group existing after 1970. Dr. Hupp and I will probably be working some in the archives with the archivist to see if we can learn more, but I just don't want that information to disappear. There is also Epsilon Tau Pi. They are the Eagle Scout fraternity, and they in fact have an endowment that they have as well that funds scholarships for Eagle Scouts who go to colleges that have active chapters or colonies. It was founded in 1999 in Ohio, and there are now 18 active chapters or colonies. Also, Dr. Hupp reminded me that Chi Sigma was the forerunner of an OA lodge. It was the honor society within what is now Lodge, or what became Lodge 546. The Lodge, however, was only active from 1960 to 1975 as an OA Lodge before it merged, and it maintained that name Sigma Chi and did not change names when it became an OA Lodge. The forerunner of OA Lodge, Arcoon number 369, was also called Chi Sigma, and Dr. Hupp pointed out to me that many of the patches have a CS on them. So how to get here? The reason I'm here tonight, this patch in the upper right-hand side got listed on eBay as possible unknown OA. I was like, okay. So the image was not nearly as clear and as close as it was in the photo of my actual patch. And so I threw a bid on it and then started looking at it and realized that the O was actually a theta and the A was just beside of a delta in the TP, not a triangle. And I realized it was fraternity, and I went and started looking. And I found all sorts of stuff on eBay and just kind of snatched a bunch of it up. Simultaneously, or almost simultaneously, I got recruited as the fundraising chair to APO Eagles. And the reason I was recruited as the fundraising chair is because we had much more success in raising money for our scholarship fund, which we gave out our first one this year for $2,000. And we found out that we had much more success in selling a few patches than we did in, say, sticking our hand out and just asking. So the combination of those two things is why I'm here, because I recognize we have multiple Greek letter organizations that are scouting related, and I'm really hoping to get us listed officially on something like ISCA, because I believe that there is enough different fraternities as opposed to pre-OA honor societies that I'm going to request to have it listed. So that's really kind of why I'm here. So first off, Theta Delta Alpha, 1928, September of 1928. The early felts, beside the 48 that was sitting there, here's a couple of 50s. I'm not positive that I have. I'm not positive whether the one to the right that's moth is just miscolored or whether it was a different color printing. The felt fabric's the same color, so I don't know. Then, of course, we have a couple of round felts as well. They were very active in the Arrowhead district of the Chicago Council. And the reason that I picked up 1928 was because of the bottom right patch, which says 1953 Theta Delta Alpha 25th anniversary. I simply did the math and went 1928. And Dr. Hupp was able to actually provide information confirming that. So there's that patch again that I picked up. And I kind of liked it. I actually found it just searching on the word cut edge. And then here's the 54 and 55. They had a couple of events. Much of it was done at Illini State Park. And then it turns out that the Scout-O-Ramas, I learned from the newspaper information, were actually done in automobile dealerships. They hosted Scout-O-Ramas during the 50s and 60s and 70s. As you can see here, we've got a Scout-O-Rama from the 60s. It looks kind of like a council strip. We've got something that's an EX. And then we, of course, have another one of these rectangles. And it was just a series of them. And then in the end, they went round. And this is kind of the last vestiges of what there was. From 63 to 70, I have identified literally a total of 5 patches, and there's nothing beyond that I can find. Let's go to Chi Sigma. As I said, Dr. Hupp reminded me that they were not only an OA Lodge, number 546, and you can see the patches there, but that they also, there's the CS for Chi Sigma from the Arcoon Lodge, number 369. All right, so the topic that I'm most versed in, of course, is Alpha Phi Omega. I pledged in 1987, 88. And I know I've got several brothers on this call tonight that are literally the same era at my chapter at Virginia Tech. So I'm glad to have them here supporting me tonight. Thank you. One of the earliest pieces, some of the earliest pieces that APO had were simply felt armbands. These were used at things like jamborees and other scouting events, and at national conventions as well for people that were doing specific, like for services. We use them later that way. This is a later piece. Also, there are a series of pocket rounds, different ones with dangle loops and without dangle loops, and then there are at least two versions, if not more versions, of the crest that are embroidered pretty much on a felt background. Now, the national office does issue a patch for every national convention. It has for at least the past, I don't know, 25, 30 years almost. And I have an example here of just some of the loose ones. And this is a friend of mine's line jacket from Norfolk State, where he's an advisor, where my first wife was an advisor as well. And this is her husband's jacket. And they sewed all of their convention patches on their line jackets. Now, national issues from the national, from essentially the Scouting and Youth Services branch of Alpha Phi Omega, the group of volunteers and students, and especially the alumni volunteers that help out with all of the scouting type events and coordinate the scouting events. They have, since about 1985, if not maybe a little earlier, issued patches for the National Jamboree. You can see that there's two different ones for the 85 Jamboree. One, I believe, is a staff patch. And in the same, here's a 97 and a 2001. And you can see that these all bear our badge as well as the scout symbol. In 2005, they did two different council shoulder patches as well. This is the staff one. And then in 2010, they did a unique patch. This is actually a 4-piece patch. It's the top is the Phi, the left is the Alpha, the right is the Omega, and then in the center, there's a mirrored edge circle that's about 2.5 inches in size. And they were made by the gazillions just to hand out to kids to spread the word about APO. It's the 3 patches on the side that were not. And those are pretty premium patches within our group now, as is that silver border 2005 as well. So 2013, they made a solid patch, and then they cut it into 4ths as well. And it's my understanding that this bottom piece was made in much more quantity than, of course, the other 3 pieces were. And you can see how that in that uncut design is that way. They went to another uncut in 2017. And again, you can see there's a center patch. They probably did the same thing we did in 2010 and gave a gazillion of those away. And then, of course, it's got 5 segments around it. So those are much harder to come by in the uncut version. So those are national based issues. And then we get into like chapter based issues. a lot of chapters have made their own patches. And we start here. Charlie Amon gave us a whole lot of early ones. This is my favorite one here, the Flamingo from University of Florida. This was actually a thank you to the officers of the lodge. This was not necessarily even a scout event. This was just a thank you to the officers of the lodge. On the other hand, many of the other things are scouting event related, the Indian festivals, etc. And then, of course, we get into different camporees. You can see that, in fact, in this this slide on the right, you can see the top two blue patches are essentially the same patch, just a different year. So they did it time and again. Again, many more event patches, and then we start seeing things like Merit Badge University. Okay, we see different examples of Merit Badge Universities. Here's Merit Badge University 2012, and it goes on and on. Here's one I recently picked up that Charlie had as well. This is a 1962 Explorer Career Day. This is pretty much the oldest one I've seen thus far. And then there's the Explorer Conference in '63 that Charlie had as well. So then we get into the Clemson University patches. Clemson does a huge Merit Badge college every year, and they issue multiple patches. And in fact, these are super unique patches. I gotta make sure I get a couple of these, because this let me see, where are these patches? Many of these patches are two-sided. These patches right here, and I'll go back up in a second, I scrolled through too fast, but these patches here, this is two sides of the same patch. Okay, these are two-sided patches. So those are kind of cool, and I've never owned a two-sided patch. And then, of course, they put a building of distinction on the 2021. And then, of course, a computer, because it was done online, which made a lot of sense. And then we have some different designs from other schools. Here's Florida Tech, here's UMass, and then here's, something that they didn't designate a school. They simply, just listed as pretty generic. So again, there's the ones from 2020 with the computer on it. Thank you, COVID. Here's the double-sided from Clemson that I really, really like. Here's some more of the double-sided from Clemson. The purple is the purple, the orange is the orange, and the white is the white. Those are the two sides of each of those. So they've done several two-sided patches. Somebody on this call is going to have to explain to me how that happens, because here's the other set of them from 17. They just do them this way each year. Other schools, again, UMass, several of those. Continuing on, lots of Merit Badge colleges. APO does tons and tons of Merit Badge colleges. I know when I was at VCU, we did a Merit Badge college. I just never thought to issue a patch. I'm not sure why. But anyway, again, many, many different Merit Badge colleges as they go. You see, this is a fairly common style Merit Badge college patch. APO, that chapter did one as well. And some camporees. We like to do camporees. There's a swimmery. That's actually a pretty old patch there. I'm not positive of the age on that. I got to find out from Charlie the age on that. Again, more Merit Badge universities of different designs. Again, some more. I mean, there's just tons of them. They're everywhere. And they're just, you find them in junk boxes sometimes. You just literally find them searching through junk boxes. Now, this is different because John Fitzpatrick provided this to me, and many of those patches were also John's as well. John also collects the Girl Scout variety of the APO patches, and here you can see there's 10 of them right there, or more, 11 of them, and so and some of them, in fact, there have been some that have been issued as a BSA GSUSA together, where they did something with both groups simultaneously. Now let's go to this. Let's talk about unofficial versus official. Unofficial on the left, in all various and assorted ones. The one that I did not grab was the yellow. I should have grabbed that. The official BSA yellow knot, which designates you've had the Horton Award. I just missed grabbing that. This is actually an official piece, which designates that you're a petitioning group. And the reason I put that there is because when I pledged at Virginia Tech and then helped start the chapter at Virginia Commonwealth, and they told us we could wear letters, but we had to wear something indicating we were a petitioning group. And we're like, yeah, like what? And so I kind of spearheaded the legislation on that. So now you can tell if someone is in a group that is going through the process of chartering. So the final portion is APO Eagles, and that is a group within Alpha Phi Omega. We're the Alumni Association and NISA affiliate group. We're a recognized NISA affiliate group, and it's my understanding that many of the other affiliate groups that came about are now no longer with us. There's our website, www.apoeagles.org. Please take a look at us sometime. So this was our first two designs. First the pin, which this is the eagle version at the top with the gold crest, with the gold torch, and the non-eagle version with the blue. You can be an APO Eagles without having to be an Eagle Scout. You can be an APO brother who simply supports scouting and the Eagles and the progression of Eagle Scouts. The patch design on the right was done as both a pocket hex with the dangle like that, and as a jacket patch. And the first version of the jacket patch came back as an error where alumni was spelled incorrectly. And we do have a few of those left, just a few. We've got, but not many of the errors are left. So how did I kind of get here? Well, that image right there tells the whole story. I was given the option to help design our first patch because our president, who is also our artist, came to me and said, I have this idea for this design, and I'll share that to you in a minute. And he said, you know, I want to do it. And I was like, that's great. But, you know, and then I gave him letter designations of how I wanted to designate this very similar to OA material to make it very easily trackable so that we could track it if we ever got ISCO recognition. And so we both came upon the conclusion that we had to make what we called our first flap, our S1. And being the crazy Virginia collector that I am, that just kind of sprung to mind as my idea of a first flap. You know, he threw me a yellow piece that had the words on it and image, and I was like, yep, let's make this look a little better. And you notice that we put the blue border in there inside so that you could see the edge of the cut edge there. So that's just me having fun. But we marketed the dickens out of those things, and we pre-ordered over 1,000 of them. There were 2,000 made, and every one of them comes with a numbered sachet, and it's folded and numbered. And that was actually, there's a lot of heritage in OA that goes into our ideas of design, because the sachet itself, I had recently gotten a Tapawingo S1. I got two of them, one in the original sachet and one in the original sachet still stapled, never been opened. And the sachet came with it and described what the patch was. And we just decided simply to use that real estate to discuss how to join APO and let students know, because the whole function of the organization is to spread the word of Alpha Phi Omega within the greater scouting and Eagle Scout community, such that more youth will join when they go to college. And this is literally,
You know, I mean, I had somebody call it a propaganda piece, and I was like, well, I guess so. Yep, it works for me. Next was our emblems of service, and these came out, and that's actually a preliminary design right there. That was the pre-design. I don't have a photo of it up. It was designed just a little bit different. We meant to have these out by NOAC 2022. Our patch manufacturer let us down, but they're in, and there are actually very few sets left. This is a 6-piece set, and it actually does not have the NISA logo there. It actually has our APO Eagles logo on it instead, which is the torch and the eagle. And the last thing that we're putting out, somebody said we need a society, an association for those of us that you know, have a problem as patch collectors. I said, well, I've already got a 12-step program, and there it sits. And that's our next offering with APO Eagles, and that would be the 12 points. It's over. It's actually going to be over 4 years, and everything right here in this spot in the upper left is a hat pin. For those of you who understand Nawaqua, you will understand the Nawaqua F7, 8, 9, 10 that had a hat pin in the center over twill. We wanted to make a twill patch, and that is a shadow patch where everything in black is actually twill. So somebody asked me, they said, you know, why didn't you fully embroider them? You know, you run them. I was like, no, I didn't. I made them like I wanted them. And so they were great patches. There's some funny things that go along with these. If you look at helpful, helpful was I just, you know, had to talk to the artist and how he may be on tonight. That it's just too iconic that the scout helping someone cross the street, and so that was helpful. But this is a great series. I work with a great artist. He is our president, and I'm having a great time doing this, and we're raising a lot of money for the scholarship fund. So that's kind of why I'm here tonight. Very special thank you, Charlie Mon and John Fitzpatrick, who both provided a whole lot of patch images, as well as Will Highsmith, who then helped me put it together, and Dr. Joe Hupp, who provided extensive information on Theta Delta Alpha and on Chi Sigma. So thanks to all of them. Thanks to all of you for being with me tonight.
And last one though, chapter versus colony.
Chapter versus colony. Okay, so in many social fraternities, a new organization that is starting is called a colony. In Alpha Phi Omega, we refer to that as, we did refer to it as a colony up until 1991. It's now called a petitioning group. It's the same thing. You have to go through the process of essentially everybody pledges the new chapter at the same time. The new chapter essentially checks off all the boxes to become a new chapter and essentially pledges the organization.
So Chi Sigma was the first name that the Lodge 369 chose, but they quickly renamed it to Arcoon. You mentioned that the CS stood for Chi Sigma. Actually, Chi Sigma stood for Camp Sequoian. So just
excellent. Okay, that's the information that I wasn't quite clear on. That's funny because we were trying to figure out where the Greek letter designation came from, and Dr. Hupp actually, you know, suggested, and I kind of agree. They're literally right beside colleges too.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those lodges.
I actually added something to the chat about Chi Sigma at Quinnipiac Council. It started because their chief scout, or their scout executive, Sam Bogan, had been in Ithaca when Chi Sigma was formed in New York, that later became, you know, Chi Sigma, the lodge. And when he got to Quinnipiac Council, he liked the idea of Chi Sigma and actually petitioned the folks in Ithaca to form a chapter of the Chi Sigma Honor Society in Connecticut. And so they did that. And then that later became the first iteration of the OA Lodge. But within a couple of years, of course, they changed it and it became Arcoon Lodge. And as Roy points out, the CS on their issues is not for Chi Sigma, but rather for Camp Sequoias. And just Chi Sigma, Camp Sequoias kind of went together, and so there's been a lot of that. But it did start because he actually was in Ithaca when they started the Chi Sigma fraternity.
Okay, if you didn't have a chapter while you were in college, can you still try become a member of APO?
Absolutely. The answer is you can be an advisor to a chapter at a college near you, where all chapters are required to have at least one scouting and or youth services advisor. Okay, and at least one. In fact, many of them try to have a couple, maybe one scouting and one other youth services. That way, if you lose one, you're not scrambling, because that is a drop dead requirement. And it used to be scouting only, but now it's scouting and youth services. But that's how you get your foot in the door.